So I know you're sick of talking about it, so let's just get it out of the way first. This Brit Awards fall. Did you know that you were in trouble like a second or two before it happened, or did it catch you by surprise?
It caught me by surprise because I'd rehearsed it 15 times, and there's a string that was tied in a bow. My cape was tied in a bow around my neck, and I pulled it, and it didn't come undone. It just stayed. It like went into a weird knot, and then the girls, the two Japanese girls who were instructed to pull the cape, were so far away from me because the cape was so long. They didn't know that the string didn't come undone. They didn't imagine or factor it in to the plan to look and make sure that the
string was done. The string was undone.
So they just yanked. I didn't fall. They yanked me off the stage. It was either, death by strangulation or fall down the stairs.
Well, speaking of award shows, you took Nas and Diplo to the Grammys.
Excellent dates, I think.
That's what I was going to ask. How are they as escorts?
Very good. Very funny.
And worked with them in the studio as well.
Yeah.
Diplo, the one who convinced you to go into the origin story in Veni Vidi Vici, right?
Yeah.
Did that take convincing to get you to do that?
Not really. It was like, basically he suggested that I take a trip down memory lane. It's like, you've like gone through so much. Just talk about it. And talk about it like, he's like, don't sing about it, talk about it. So that's why it's sort of delivered in a nonchalant, speaking kind of way.
And that made sense to you?
You know what? I trusted Diplo, and he's got good taste. A lot of what we did was an experiment, and I just went for it.
And also on the track, you have Nas. Had you met him before you guys started working together?
No, but I always admired him, and it was like such an honor for me to work with him. Love his music, love what he stands for, love what he's about.
And then I think of you guys as sort of, like New York pillars in a way, but in kind of different ways.
Yeah.
And I'm wondering, did you guys have any chats about New York or anything like that?
Oh yeah, we did. We had lots of chats.
What did you guys talk about?
Just clubs, scenes, rappers, people, New York, what it used to be like, how we miss it, that sort of thing.
That's what I was going to ask. Did New York, did it used to be just a lot more fun than it is now?
I'm not going to lie, it was more fun.
Right?
Yeah.
What about the city's changed where it's just not as fun as it used to be?
It's just not a scene anymore. Like, imagine, okay, so we're in this room right now surrounded by Keith Haring and Basquiat and Warhol, but those were my peeps. Like, we hung out together and we came up together and we were making art at the same time together and we shared ideas together. Their art was on the street and accessible to everybody, and I don't know, that doesn't exist anymore.
Right, because art and pop used to have
synergy.
And now they don't, do they?
No, not really.
Not in the way you used to feel it, right?
No, not in the way I experienced it. I mean, I was like, we were all making art together, influencing one another. I mean, when I had shows, in the early days when I was performing and I did shows at, say, the Paradise Garage or the Roxy, Keith would say, oh, let me paint on your jacket and your skirt and like create your costume for you. You know what I mean? And
right.
Andy Warhol would be in the audience and Larry Levan would be spinning, and just a whole different scene. Then the Rocksteady crew would show up and break dancing everywhere, and different time.
Let's talk about the album, because when I'm looking at the producer credits, I'm like, good God, I'm looking at all these names, Diplo.
The gods of music.
Yes. And one sticks out to me, which is Kanye West. How did you guys end up
working together?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, we're friends. I've known him for years. We worked together on 2 albums ago. He worked on a track that Pharrell produced. And we ran into each other at a party and we got to talking, and he just said, where are you with your record? I know you're making a record right now and I want to hear it. And I said, okay. So he came over to my house one day and then he listened to everything, and he said, I want to do with you what Rick Rubin's did with me, with my album. I had almost finished it, and then Rick came in and basically went through every track and made comments, made things better, stripped things down, blah, 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 and Godfathered it, basically.
Right.
That's what he said he wanted to do with my album. And I said, great, let's go. But then he forgot that he had to do 20 other projects. And so he ended up only working on 4 songs, and then we wrote another song together, which is going to be on his record.
Of all the producers that you worked with, who did you have the best chemistry with?
that's kind of unfair. I mean, I had really good chemistry with just about everybody. Producer-wise, who did I have the most fun with? And I would say Diplo.
Diplo?
Yeah. I feel like he's most like me. I don't know why. I just...
Kindred spirits, Madonna
Yeah.
and Diplo?
Yeah. Yeah.
And then, I was reading that you saw that a lot of people were on their phones, and I think about the way that maybe like albums are different. It's like, it seems like they're almost done over email now. Is it different now, the way these things are constructed just at their architecture?
Yeah, I mean, people do produce records in their hotel rooms, in airport terminals while they're waiting for planes, like in between gigs. So they're done in a very fragmented way, and that was hard for me to adapt to.
Yeah, is something lost in that process, you think?
For sure, continuity and a lot of stems. Like, you can't imagine how many stems went missing. That I was going to rename my record "Where Are the Stems," because I would work on stuff with Diplo, and then he would give me an MP3 of a mix, and then he'd leave, and then I'd try to recreate that sound later. He'd send all the parts, the stems, the 808, this synth part, this vocal, whatever, and it wouldn't sound the same. So then we'd find out there were stems missing, and then I'd be harassing him and texting him in wherever he was, in Vegas or, some crazy major laser party, or just saying, where are you got to send me the music. You sent me the wrong tracks, and that happened a lot. So that was really frustrating. So I think a lot of those producers are used to working with people that way, and I would just say, well, I'm not going to work this way. I'm waiting till you come back into the city, and you're in the room with me, and then we're going to finish the track.
Talk it out.
We're going to look into each other's eyes and finish this song. So, and Diplo used to say to me, "You're the only person I would come back to work on a song with," and I'm like, that's outrageous that you would say such a thing. But that's
like how it goes now.
That's how it goes now, yeah.
When I look at the guest features on the album, Chance the Rapper, Nicki Minaj, Nas, A-List, all these names pop out. But the one that, to me, I was like, that really stands out to me is Mike Tyson.
Yeah.
So you have to tell me how Mike Tyson got involved, what Mike Tyson was like, your relationship with Mike Tyson. I need to know everything.
Well, I wrote a song called Iconic, and I was thinking, who, in my mind, I wanted to have a featured artist on it. And I kept thinking, who is, in my eyes, who's super iconic? Who do I look up to? Who's alive today that's been through, what I feel like I've been through, that's been through a lot, survived, has stories to tell, has evolved as a human being, et cetera, is a survivor. His name came to mind right away. And part of that is because, first of all, I've known him for years. I knew him back in the day when he was married to Robin Givens. I had just seen his HBO documentary, his one-man show that Spike Lee directed, and I was so moved by it and so impressed by it. So he just was in the back of my mind anyways. And I'm like, Mike Tyson. So
and then he gets
my
in
manager
there.
called his manager, and he got on the phone, and he asked me what the song was about and what I wanted him to do, and he said, I'll be in New York in 2 weeks. I'll be there. So he was there. He was on time. He made no demands except he wanted Twizzlers, and that's it. He came in and he did several rants. I could put out a 20-minute record of Mike Tyson ranting if I wanted to.
I think people would be interested in that.
Oh yes, they would. He's very inspiring.
He is. And I've noticed that this album, it's rooted in hip hop in a way that your previous albums haven't been, and I'm wondering why.
Is it?
Leaning towards, I think so.
Well, if it is, that wasn't done intentionally. No, I mean, I have a lot of connections to people in the hip hop world, and hip hop has influenced me, but I'm also influenced by dance music and folk music, for classical music, everything.
Well, I'm wondering, even if it's subconscious, as a boundary pusher, I'm wondering, maybe if you're going to look for something subversive, maybe hip hop is where it is more than pop.
Yeah, true. Although there's a lot of, I wish hip hop was more subversive than it is, It was more subversive in the 90s, let's face it.
How do you think it's different? Why do you say that?
Because I feel like hip hop was more street poetry than it is. Now it's become also more mainstream, more populist. But you know, although artists like Kanye are obviously much more subversive than other artists, so, or Tyler the Creator, for instance.
Right. Is there anybody maybe you'd like to work with that you haven't in hip hop yet?
Oh, I love Kendrick Lamar. That would be pretty amazing. I did actually reach out to him, but he was busy making his record, and he was like, okay, in a month, but I didn't have a month.
You didn't have a month to give?
Yeah.
Not even for Kendrick?
Well, I could have if I didn't have a hacker, but I did, so I had to kind of hurry things up.
Get that thing moving.
Yeah, so, but he's somebody that I wanted to work with, so.
Do your kids listen to hip hop?
Yeah, my son, Rocco, yeah.
What sort of influence do they have on you as far as your art?
Well, it was good when they gave me the thumbs up, you know.
You have like a little
listen to
focus
stuff.
group.
Totally, yeah. Mom, that bass line sucks. Oh, Mom, like all the Diplo tracks. My daughter would be like texting me from college, going, "Can you send me Bitch I'm Madonna?" And I'm like, "No, it's not out yet. I can't send you anything." So, anyway, that was a good sign. That was a compliment.
So like, yeah, if they're like, this is like something that we'd party to, that means you have a hit.
Yeah, yeah.
That's how it works.
Yeah. Well, it just, or means I've made something relevant. I don't know.
You open up a lot in this album. I wonder, is it easier to do when you're on album number 13 than it is on album number 1? Or is it harder to do?
I don't see, no, not necessarily, because if you just start out, you know, people have no expectations, so you feel maybe freer than you would after you've been around a while. I think that I've been writing personal songs and opening up for my entire career in one way or another. There's probably just more songs on this album that are personal than others.
Bjork is another woman who's been around for decades, and her album, probably the most personal of her career, though hers is about a breakup, which makes me wonder, is there anything in your life that's maybe too intimate to share in a song? Too sacred?
I wouldn't say there's anything that's too sacred, but I might share something that I have some deep feeling about that I'm not specific about. You can write things, you can express vulnerability without being specific. There's a way to do it. So I wouldn't say there's anything that's off limits.
Maybe there's like something inside that you know is there that maybe like a casual listener wouldn't hear or pick up on. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, or I would be writing about it, but I would be coded in a way that, or encrypted in a way
that you'd have to know
lyrically
to get it.
That most people, unless you were very close to me, would not understand.
What do you deal with more? What's more of a challenge, ageism or sexism for you?
I think they're both the same. I think ageism is intertwined with sexism. I think, I don't think men have to deal with ageism. So it's a sexist discrimination.
What sorts of challenges do those things pose to you?
Well, I find it tremendously unfair that people would, you know, have issues with, you know, me exploring areas of sexuality in my music, or continuing to be sexually provocative, for instance, in my performances, or just having fun. I guess you're not allowed to have fun when you're in your 50s. I don't know if you're a girl. I think, you know, Mick Jagger's allowed to have fun.
That's a good, yeah.
But I'm not allowed to have fun.
Yeah, that's an amazing point.
And if you're Mick Jagger, you're allowed to date a 25-year-old. But if you're me,
there's a problem.
You're a bitch, cunt, whore. Yeah.
Amazing point.
Yes.
Have you seen this Drake guy? In January, he's posting Instagram pics of Madonna. Were you aware of that when that was going down?
I answered him.
You did?
Yeah.
What'd you say?
I'm waiting.
You're, okay. Have you heard the song Madonna by Drake?
It's the best song on the record.
You love that song?
But I've heard the whole mixtape, and it's the best song.
Better than Legend?
Oh, yeah.
Madonna's the best song.
It is. I'm not saying just because it's like, ask other people. I'm not the only one who thinks that.
That the Madonna's the best track on that?
Yeah, even Drake thinks that.
Would you ever work with Drake? Because you haven't worked with Drake.
Yeah, we're gonna work together.
Is that something that's in the pipeline, something that's happening?
Yeah, baby, it's in the pipeline.
It's like a thing now, like you're working with Drake
Yeah,
on a song.
yeah,
Anything else on that?
no.
All right, that's where you leave me?
That's where you-
And
that's what
that's
you
where I'm
get.
done.
Always first,
Always best.
your stories, your characters, your culture.
Subscribe to Complex News
On YouTube today.